Imagine this for a second. You have this one man who has dominated an entire continent for a decade. He loses everything. He's forced to abdicate, exiled to a tiny little rock in the Mediterranean called Elba.
The end of the story, you'd think.
Right. The old monarchy's back. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. The nightmare is over. And then, just 10 months later, the guy escapes.
He just walks off the island.
He lands in France with a handful of guards, and without firing a single shot, he takes back the entire empire. The armies they send to arrest him, they just start weeping and cheering for him.
It's one of those truth is stranger than fiction moments in history. We are, of course, talking about the return of Napoleon Bonaparte in 1815.
Exactly. And that is where we're starting today's deep dive. We're looking at the Battle of Waterloo.
Yeah.
But the mission today isn't to just, recite a list of regiments and Frank maneuvers. We've got a stack of sources here, and we want to unpack the sheer tension of it all.
Because it wasn't inevitable.
Not at all. When you really dig into it, you realize the fate of Europe for the next 100 years was decided on a single Sunday afternoon.
That's the key takeaway. It's so easy to look back and say, of course Napoleon lost, but up until the very last hour, the outcome was on a knife edge.
It was, as the Duke of Wellington famously said.
The damn near run thing.
So let's set that stage. The pressure cooker, as you've called it. Napoleon is back in Paris. King Louis XVIII, who the sources are not kind to, they call him corpulent, he's already fled.
He's gone. But the rest of Europe is not just going to let this happen.
No.
You have to remember, the Congress of Vienna is going on at this exact moment. All of Napoleon's enemies, Britain, Prussia, Austria, Russia, they're all in Vienna arguing.
Arguing about how to carve up the map?
Right, bickering, basically. But the moment the news hits that Napoleon is back, everything stops.
A common enemy.
The perfect common enemy. They immediately declare Napoleon an outlaw. And that's a really crucial legal point. They didn't declare war on France.
Oh, that's interesting.
They declared war on him, personally. They called him a disturber of the peace of the world.
So Napoleon's in charge, but he knows the clock is ticking. He can't just sit there and wait.
No, he has to act. The coalition is mobilizing this massive, coordinated invasion. Hundreds of thousands of men. His only chance is to strike first.
He needs a quick win.
A quick, decisive victory to shatter their confidence. So he looks at the map, and he sees two armies in Belgium that are, within reach.
And this sets up the whole chessboard. You've got Blücher and the Prussians, and Wellington with an Anglo-Allied army.
And here's the core strategic problem for Napoleon, the one all the military historians focus on.
He's outnumbered if they link up.
Massively. He has about 125,000 men. Together, Wellington and Blücher have over 200,000. So his army is a match for either one.
But not both.
Not both. So his strategy is classic Napoleon. Divide and conquer.
Get between them.
Exactly. Drive a wedge between them and defeat each one separately. And at first, it works brilliantly. He moves so fast. On June 16th, 2 days before Waterloo, he hammers the Prussians at the Battle of Ligny.
And I want to pause on Ligny for a second because the details are just wild. Blücher, the Prussian commander, is 72 years old.
72. And probably the most aggressive Napoleon-hating commander on the field.
There's that story that he was mentally unstable, thought he was pregnant with an elephant.
He had his eccentricities, yes.
Yeah.
But on the battlefield, he was all warrior. At Ligny, he personally leads a cavalry charge.
At 72.
His horse gets shot out from under him. He's pinned. The French cavalry literally ride right over him and don't see him. He's inches from being captured.
Which would have ended the war right there.
Oh, almost certainly.
Right.
But he escapes. The Prussians are beaten, they retreat. And this is where Napoleon makes his first critical mistake.
Okay.
He assumes they're broken, that they're running east, back to Germany. So he sends 33,000 men, a huge chunk of his army, under Marshal Grouchy to chase them away.
But they weren't running east.
No. They were battered, but they weren't broken. And Blücher's number 2, a man named Gneisenau, makes the crucial call to retreat north, parallel to Wellington.
To stay in the fight.
To stay within supporting distance. That decision saved the campaign.
Which brings us to Wellington. He hears the Prussians lost, he has to fall back, and he retreats to a spot he'd already picked out near a village called Waterloo.
But then you have the weather.
The rain.
A torrential downpour. All night. The sources describe the fields turning into swamps. And this is miserable for the soldiers, but it's a huge tactical problem for Napoleon.
Right, the cannonballs.
Exactly. You want that ricochet. You fire a cannonball, you want it to skip across the ground like a stone on a pond, taking out legs and bodies.
But if the ground's a swamp?
The ball just thuds into the mud. Plop. Gone. It drastically reduces the lethality of his main weapon, his artillery.
So we get to Sunday morning, June 18th. The ground is soaked. And Wellington sets up his defense using his signature move, the reverse slope. Can you break down what that actually means?
It's clever. Instead of putting your guys on top of the ridge, where they're perfect targets, he puts them on the backside of it.
So they're hidden.
They're hidden from view and protected from direct cannon fire. The French have to march all the way up the hill, blind, before they even see who they're fighting.
And he anchors his line on 3 fortified farms, Hougoumont on the right, La Haye-Sainte in the center.
Like breakwaters. They're sown complexes. The French can't just go around them, they have to take them. It funnels their attack and breaks up their formations.
But his army, I mean, it's not exactly Napoleon's veteran Grande Armée, is it?
It's a ragtag army, as he called it. A third British, many of them new recruits. The rest are Dutch, Belgian, German. Some of them had even fought for Napoleon before. They're terrified.
And yet Napoleon delays the attack. He waits for the ground to dry.
He waits until almost 11:30 in the morning. He wants that artillery effect.
Yeah.
But those lost hours, they're going to come back to haunt him.
Okay, so 11:30 a.m., the battle finally begins. And it starts not with a main assault, but with a diversion.
A feint, yeah. He attacks the farmhouse of Hougoumont on the right. The idea is to make Wellington panic and move his reserves over there.
So he can smash the weakened center.
Exactly. But it backfires. The British and German defenders in Hougoumont just refuse to break. So instead of drawing Wellington's reserves, it ends up sucking in more and more French troops.
And there's that incredible moment at the gate.
Oh, it's straight out of a movie. A giant of a Frenchman, Lieutenant Legros, the smasher, he hacks the main gate open with an axe.
And they pour in.
About 40 of them get into the courtyard, hand-to-hand combat. But the defenders, led by a Colonel McDonnell, they manage to physically push the gates shut again.
Trapping the French inside.
Trapping them inside. They kill every single one. Wellington later said that the closing of that gate was the decisive moment of the battle.
Wow. Okay, so while that's going on, around 1:30, Napoleon launches his main infantry attack on the center.
And this is where you see the clash of styles. The French are in these deep columns, great for momentum.
But only the front guys can shoot.
Right. Wellington's men are in thin lines, too deep. Every single man can fire. So as the French come over the ridge, they walk into a wall of lead.
Still, the French numbers start to tell. The Allied line is bending. And then
the British play their ace. The Union Brigade, the heavy cavalry.
The Scots Greys.
The Scots Greys, the Inniskillings. It's a massive thundering charge. They just shatter the French infantry. It's a huge success. They even capture 2 of the French Imperial Eagles.
Which is the ultimate disgrace for a French regiment.
The ultimate disgrace.
Man.
But then in discipline, they get carried away. They don't stop. They charge right across the valley, up the other side, and attack the French cannons.
And their horses are exhausted. Blown, as the sources say.
Totally spent. And that's when Napoleon's lancers hit them. It's a slaughter. The Union Brigade is wiped out. A glorious charge, but a tragic waste.
So it's mid-afternoon, both sides are bloodied, and then comes maybe the biggest blunder of the day.
Ney's cavalry charge.
What happens?
Marshal Ney, Napoleon's commander on the field, he sees some movement behind Wellington's lines, wounded men, ammo carts, and he thinks they're retreating.
He misreads it.
Completely misreads it. He decides, on his own, to launch a massive cavalry charge to turn the retreat into a rout. But he doesn't bring any infantry or artillery support.
So thousands of horses charge up the hill, expecting to find running men.
And instead, they find squares, the famous infantry squares.
The rock, paper, scissors of warfare. Explain why cavalry can't break a square.
Well, a horse won't charge into a wall of bayonets. It just won't. So the cavalry can't break in. They just have to circle around the squares, getting shot to pieces.
And Ney just keeps sending them in. For 2 hours.
He just feeds the entire French cavalry into this meat grinder. It's an absolute disaster that achieves nothing.
And while Ney is wasting the cavalry.
The clock runs out. The Prussians start to arrive on Napoleon's right flank.
This is the turning point.
This is it. Now, Napoleon isn't just fighting Wellington in front of him. He has to turn and fight Blücher on his flank. He's caught in an L.
He has to split his forces.
He has to send his precious reserves, the young guard, to go fight the Prussians in a village called Plancenoit. Every man he sends there is one less man he has to break Wellington.
But he still almost does it. Around 6 p.m., the French finally capture La Haye, that farm in the center.
This is the crisis point for Wellington, because now The French can bring their cannons forward and blast his line from point-blank range.
The casualties are horrific. The Allied line is buckling.
It's so close. Wellington is looking at his watch, just praying for the Prussians to arrive in force, or for night to fall. His army is at the breaking point.
Napoleon knows it too. He has one last throw of the dice.
One final card to play.
7:30 p.m. The sun is setting, and he sends in the Imperial Guard.
The Immortals. You have to understand the mystique of these men. The elite of the elite. They had never, ever been defeated in battle. When the Guard advanced, the battle was over.
I can't imagine what that must have been like for the Allied soldiers. You've been fighting for 8 hours straight, and then you see them.
These giants in bearskin hats marching through the smoke and carnage right towards you. It looks like they're going to punch right through.
But Wellington has one last surprise.
He has his best British infantry, the Foot Guards, lying down in the tall grass, hidden. He waits until the French are just 40 yards away. Then he gives the order.
Now, Maitland, now's your time.
And 1,000 men stand up out of the grass and unleash a devastating volley. The head of the French column just disappears.
And then the unthinkable happens. The Guard, they stop, they waver, and then they turn and run.
And the cry goes up through the whole French army. La Garde recule.
The Guard is retreating.
The spell is broken. The myth is shattered. If the Guard can't do it, no one can. And in that instant, panic just cascades through the French lines. The army dissolves.
And at the same time, Wellington orders a general advance, and the Prussians finally break through on the flank.
It's not a retreat, it's a rout. A total collapse. Napoleon barely escapes.
And just like that, it's over.
It's over. Wellington and Blücher meet that night at an inn.
La Belle Alliance. The Beautiful Alliance. You'd think that would be the name of the battle.
Blücher wanted it to be. But Wellington was very pragmatic. He always named battles after his headquarters, which was in the village of Waterloo. And so Waterloo it is.
We have to talk about the cost. In that one small area, how many casualties?
Around 50,000 men killed or wounded in about 9 hours.
Yeah.
It's just a butcher's bill. The medical situation was a nightmare.
And there was that detail in the sources about the looting.
Yeah. The locals coming onto the field at night, pulling teeth from the dead and wounded to sell to dentists. Waterloo teeth, they were called. It's a grim, grim reality behind the heroic paintings.
That is chilling. But out of all that, the so what? Why does this one day matter so much?
Because it ended 20 years of constant war. It ushered in what became known as the Pax Britannica. For the most part, Europe was at peace for almost a century, until 1914.
100 years of relative peace, bought in one afternoon.
That's it. It confirmed Britain as the world superpower for the 19th century.
Before we go, there's one last image from the sources that really stuck with me. We think of this battle in paintings, but photography was invented just a couple of decades later.
Right, in the 1850s.
And there are actual photographs of the men who fought at Waterloo.
It's haunting, isn't it? These old men in their 70s and 80s putting on their old uniforms one last time for a picture.
The uniforms don't quite fit. They're leaning on canes.
But you look in their eyes, it just bridges that gap in time. Those are the faces of the men who stood in the squares, who saw the Guard retreat. It makes it real.
It really makes you think about that thin line, if it hadn't rained that morning.
The great what if.
Yeah.
If Napoleon had attacked at 6 a.m. on dry ground, he almost certainly would have beaten Wellington before the Prussians ever got there. The entire map of modern Europe could be different.
It all came down to mud, a closed gate, and a few thousand men who refused to run.
A damn near run thing.
And that's where we'll leave it for this deep dive. If you get a chance, look up those photos. Just search for Waterloo veterans. It is absolutely worth it. Thanks for listening.